Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our EPI Virtual Business Owner Forum. Joe will be interviewing Nick and Deborah, who are husband and wife business owners this morning.
So perfect. Hey, thank you very much. Good morning, Kurt. Thank you very much for the kind card about your family member or your friends that got to enjoy a concert. I'm Joe Struzzari. I am the chapter president for the Orange County chapter and the San Diego chapter of Exit Planning Institute. And this is our business owner series. We're going to spend a half an hour this morning interviewing Nick and Deborah. As you all know, I'm a contractor by trade. I hammer nails to go to law school. I am an attorney, a tax attorney at this point, and have an exit planning practice as well for business owners. With my partner Steve and my other partners Jeff, Melissa, and Shelley. A great family that we work with that's also in the construction industry. Nick and Deborah own a local company, construction company here in San Diego. So Nick and Deborah, how long ago did the company start?
48 years ago.
48 years ago.
September.
What were you, 8?
No. I wish I was. No. I was about 21 years old.
So, and was that before you met Deborah?
Yes.
Very cool. So, what got you to say, I want to start this business?
It was all by accident. I went to school. I went to business school, and I was in between jobs, and I had a brother-in-law who was in construction, and he says, well, you're in between jobs, why don't you do this? I was good at running things. He could sell leaky bathtubs, and so we partnered up for about 2 or 3 years.
I'm sorry, he sold leaky bathtubs?
He could sell leaky bathtubs.
Oh, wow.
he went to people that already had contracts, and we ended up getting the jobs. So,
oh, wow.
So we were in business together for a couple of years, and then I went out on my own. And shortly after that, I met Deborah, and she helped with the business for a number of years, for about 25 years.
So how old were you? How many years after you opened it did you and Deborah start dating?
3.
And then Deborah, when did you start to come into the company side? Right away or over time?
Yeah, right away. Right away. And then,
so that was part of the deal, be my girlfriend and work with the company, or work with the company, be my girlfriend?
Yeah, well, no, it just, that's the way it happened. I was working at the at the VA hospital, and I was going to retire not retire, I was going to, change.
Beautiful. And then, so what roles did you each take the first year Deborah was on?
Well, I was estimating and doing pretty much everything. In the beginning of businesses like that, you're a lot of hats, a lot of different hats. So I would take care of estimating, going out to jobs, getting things lined out, and Deborah was taking care of the bookkeeping and accounting and helping with the payroll.
Very cool. And then, so that is how many years ago that you came on, Deborah?
Well,
decades.
Okay,
Decades ago.
Of course, you were 7 when this happened. I understand.
probably 78, 79. Is that about?
Sure. And then, so you guys run and start to grow the business. Does it take off right away, or does it slowly grow?
It slowly grew. We started out we had like 4 or 5 people, and then it slowly grew.
And at the height of your company, how many employees did you have?
160.
160 people out there running around doing stuff.
And we ended up having a partner for about 9 months. It was 1984. We had a partner for about 9 months. We went from about 30 people we did the classic 30 people to 100 people in 3 months.
Wow.
Which is a recipe for disaster. And it didn't work out. So we ended up, after about a year of that, we split our partnership up. Our 2 corporations were partners for about a year.
Sure.
We split our partnership up, and I took the guys that had been with us, and we went from 150 or 160 to 50 really competent, loyal employees who were really good at what they did. And we were making more money and being more sane with 50 people knowing exactly what they were doing than having 150 people.
Sorry, you can make more money with 50 people than you can make with 150 people?
Yes.
Why is that?
Just trying to keep control of everything. we lacked in having the control that we needed with all the superintendents that we had.
So Deborah, when you guys took on the partner and during that year, did you consider continuing the partnership? What was the conversation like between you guys about continuing the partnership, selling the whole thing, getting out, breaking apart? What was that like, Deborah?
Well, it was pretty stressful. It became very stressful just because of the load that we had. And, you know, back then everything was done manually, believe me, everything. And it was residential, huge units. And our partner, his wife played the most active part in the office because she knew more than I did. And so I was just there learning and helping her out. And I don't know, it was like Nick said, I think it got too large and out of control. And
When you say she knew more than you when you were learning, was that sarcasm or reality?
oh, it was a reality. It was a reality, yes.
So what good did you take from that experience?
How to get better control of the business. And it was nice because we were our two corporations were partners. So we were still doing other work, a little other work on our own. And we just realized we did the classic mistake of growing too quickly. We ended up getting too big too fast.
And then do you guys ever grow to that size again?
No, the most we ever did after that was about 85 people.
Because you learned your lesson over 100 was not your cup of tea?
It just wasn't, it just wasn't working out.
Sure. So what has it been like? So you have two children. At some point, did one of those children say, hey, I'd like to come around? Or did you walk up and say, we'd like you to come around?
It was just the opposite. We have a daughter who graduated from USD. Her plans were she wanted to work as a liaison at the United Nations. She learned to speak fluent German, and her plan was, because she had a psychology degree, to work at the United Nations. That's what she wanted to do. She was in between jobs and she said, can I come and work for you for 3 or 4 months? And so I said, sure. And then she said she really liked it and she became an estimator for us. And then she was with us for about 12 years. She's been doing this.
So she's still there and she's been doing this 12 years?
Yes. She just recently moved last week. As a matter of fact, she moved from Maui back to the mainland, but she was doing about 80% of our estimating and setting up jobs and doing it from
Was
Maui.
she doing estimating off-site for the company from the beginning? Or did she start here and then go there?
Oh, she started here. She was here for about 2 years and then she moved to Maui and she did it off-site.
Do you have a lot of employees that are off-site or is she the only one?
She was the only one.
Is that by right of birth, the ability to go off-site?
No, there's a lot of companies that we know of that where their estimators decided they wanted to move someplace else, and with technology, it was very easy for her to do that.
Sure. One of our Sean, one of my friends on, hi Sean, who still owes me a meeting with him and his wife, was asking, when you guys split the business up when you were with your partner, you guys each had a business, you did this thing together, and then you split apart. Was there money involved? How did you split apart at that point? How do you value things?
We didn't have anything to split. Our company had all the assets and the line of credit. His company didn't have anything.
Okay.
How we met was through a mutual friend at a bank. He had come to San Diego from Colorado, and what he was sent there to was to start different divisions. And in 1983-84, we were going into a recession, and they decided not to open the division. So we met through a mutual friend at a bank, and he said, why don't you guys he's got a couple of projects, why don't you do these together? So the first couple of projects went well, but after that, it didn't go so well.
I assume back in those days, you had an accountant and an attorney,
Yes.
maybe a financial person, a banker. Did you talk to them before you merged together with this guy?
Unfortunately, no.
No, okay. Get on your own. Did you talk to attorney, accountant, financial advisor, or banker when you decided to split?
Oh, yes.
Really? Yeah.
We did it in reverse.
Okay. So what did you not know when you merged that you found out when you were splitting?
Not to go into business with someone who didn't have anything to lose. He didn't have any assets. He was relying on us for the line of credit and for everything. He had some contacts, but we had been in business for quite a while and we had contacts too. And so it was, I think in the beginning, early part of owning the business, it was more, we saw this opportunity and thought, oh, this will be great. We can double in size and, we'll long-term, we'll be better off.
So when things start to go south at that point, who do you turn to? Which advisor out there? Or what type of advisor?
The bank first.
The bank first.
We went to the bank first.
With their money problems?
Yes,
So you had to go to the bank first.
we had to go to the bank first, yes.
And was that give me a bigger line of credit, or was that,
The
sorry,
first-
I'm behind on payroll? What was that?
The first time it was giving me a bigger line of credit. And then what ended up happening was, unfortunately, we think this all was planned because he had taken any assets he had and put them he didn't have them anymore, he put them in other people's names. So
Sure.
when the business did fold, we ended up paying back 90% of it, and he ended up paying back about 10%.
Well, hi, I'm Joe. I did the same thing for one of mine. It was easier to get rid of the toxic. In my case, it was easier to get rid of the toxicity
Yes,
than it was to try to gain the money.
yes.
Here, sign a note that you'll pay me one day, which I know you won't. Then I can write it off then.
Exactly what we did.
So it's similar, so it's nice to be in the same club. I built and sold free businesses as well, and over time, one of those things, as we amassed by picking up, a situation became toxic that slowly became toxic, we just didn't see it. Cause every day is just a little worse, I'm like the friggin' frog in the slowly boiling water.
Yeah.
And then you realize one day, how did this happen?
Exactly what happened to us.
Sure, how did that affect your relationship with your dog? Was she in the business when
No.
this guy was around?
Well, they were children, yeah.
They were children.
Yeah, they were
Cool.
kids.
So does your other daughter come in the business one day?
She did a little bit. Her and her husband were planning on buying the business, and so, and this was later on, this is just probably 3 years ago. She started getting more familiar with the business.
And so by what you just said, you then had more than just your two daughters, you had at least one other relative come into business.
Yes, my son-in-law.
Son-in-law. So Deborah, what's that like as the girls start to come into business, the family versus business time?
It could be challenging because at work it was fine. Everybody did a fantastic job. And they each had such different roles. Well, Lainey was, in Maui, so at the beginning she wasn't. So we all had great personalities. It meshed. Now Alexis came in later. Nick, I don't know if she came in 2001, not in the company. But she had her own recycling business that opened up because of.
Sure,
It was like a shoot off of what we were doing.
very much so. So in these years, while the girls have been in, your son-in-law been in, Deborah, you're suggesting that at work, the normal at work disagreements or agreements seem to work themselves out. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But at home sometimes business conversations drifted into home life.
Oh, yeah.
Say that again. I just was reading my.
Business discussions ended up drifting into home life.
I don't think so. I think that was much later, and it wasn't how the day-to-day operations were. I think it was just we would find ourselves maybe conversations drifting to that, and it's like, we shouldn't be doing this.
Sure. So you would say yes.
Oh,
That it does. What are the good parts and the bad parts about that?
I think the good parts were sometimes we would get ahead of the game. We would be talking about stuff that's going to be happening later and try to plan. The bad parts were it seems sometimes we would get to the point where we would just be talking about business all the time. And so we tried to put a halt to that. We tried to stop that, say, listen, we've got to stop talking about business all the time at home too. Because
Sure.
for a little while, it got like that. We were always just talking about what was going on.
And even though you've got a great Greek family, and passion is an important thing, sometimes subject matters other than business is good. So during these years, the years you've had, how many times have you seriously considered selling or transferring the kids or doing something different?
I think a couple of times. When the girls were when our two daughters were about 10 or 11 years old, we were thinking about moving. Deborah's parents lived in Prescott, Arizona, and we were over there all the time. And I had wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a coach when I was in college. And we went over there one time, and there was a guy that was going to sell. He was selling a gymnastics club that he had, and I told Deb, I said, why don't we get out of construction and do this? So we went over there, and we talked about it. We actually bought a lot. We were going to build a house, And then right at the last minute, we decided not to continue to do what we were doing only, and our daughters had a big influence in that because of their age. They go, we can't go to Prescott, Arizona, where there's 50,000 people coming from San Diego because it was such a small, small town, small environment. So
Did the girls have a vote, or you were just thinking on their behalf?
we were thinking on their behalf. We did.
When was the next time you guys considered selling or transferring?
It was later on. It was probably 10 years ago. We were starting to make plans to get out, to get out of this business.
And what, Deborah, why would you want to get out of the business?
It's a stressful job. I mean, it wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't fun anymore. I think that by the time we were so immersed in it, no matter how good that the office staff could run it effectively, you still were relying a lot on how things were going out in the field. Things were, for one reason or another, it fell short, and so it just put more stress on the company as a whole. You kind of, I don't know, even like more so now. It's the economy. It's the nature of the employment out there. So back then it wasn't so bad, say 10 years ago, but it was like, I'm over this. I was ready to move on. I was ready.
Sure. So when the kids were 11 or 10 years ago, when you considered sale, when you looked at gymnastics place, or 10 years ago when you're saying, this is just getting too nuts, it's too much stress in our lives, who did you seek? Did you talk to the baker again? Do you know a financial person? You talk to lawyers, CPA, other people in the business? Who did you go seek to talk to?
We really didn't talk to anybody. It was just the two of us discussing it.
So you guys were discussing it, knowing that you could probably sell for a number, but not really knowing how much?
Right. Yeah.
And you decided against it, not knowing what the number is, but knowing that your income is going to be hard to replace, or what drove you to keep this 10 years ago? Deborah?
I don't know. I would have to refer that over to Nick, since
I think it was a combination.
it was his deal.
We knew we had a business that was really running well, and that old adage, you're only as good as your worst employee, kept popping up all the time. We had 5 or 6 crews that 5 of them would be perfect, and then you'd have that one that just couldn't step up in it. And so what we ended up doing was we ended up working diligently with that one crew and all the crews together to get everybody back on track, and it did help. Our biggest thing now is we're just like everybody. We can't find more people. We can't find the right people. So it is. I've never seen anything like this as long as I've been in business.
So we're fast forwarding to now. The big challenge is you can't find people, and you can't find the right people if you do get them.
Right.
Because if you're only as good as your worst employee, and you have more than one worst employee, it's hard.
It's stressful.
More stressful. So during this market, there are a lot of people out there trying to buy business, et cetera. Have you thought about selling now?
No. Right now, we're just trying to maintain. Right now, we're hoping that within the next couple of years things.
So you're trying, although we have this big boom in San Diego of let's do tenant improvements because of biotech, et cetera. That's good, solid work. But because of the workforce, this is just like a storm of having not enough work.
To me right now, I've never seen anything like it. We turn down at least a third to half of the work that we do because we just can't get enough people. If we could get enough people, we could increase our revenues by $200,000 or $300,000 a month easily.
Right.
But we can't get the people. So when this first started, it was interesting because we would tell contractors we've been doing work for 30 years, we can't get to this job for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And their initial reaction when this first started was they'd get upset and they would say, well, we're going to have to get someone else. And I said, well, I understand. That's why I'm telling you this. And then we would inevitably get a call probably within a day. Okay, well, 3 weeks sounds good. Because everybody was in the same boat.
It's just hard out there.
Yeah.
Well, and in San Diego, permits that used to take 3-4 weeks are now taking 6 or 7 months.
Yes.
For the landlords that use permits.
Yeah. Our issue now, what's ended up happening in the last couple of months is A lot of the work we were gonna be doing in November, December, because of the supply chain problem, they've postponed it until January, February of next year, which makes it difficult scheduling wise when that happens. We had 4 big jobs that happened to just last week.
Sure. So Deborah, are you involved in the business these days?
Yeah, yes, right now I'm currently doing all the accounts payables and paying.
And have you always been involved at this level, or has that kind of fluctuated?
It's fluctuated. There were times when, excuse me, we've had some office, we've hired someone to run the office when we were at a smaller scale. This is post the huge scale that we had when we were partners. And so I removed myself because I was busy having the 2 girls. So when I had them, I wasn't going to work. Then after they were in school, I decided to, come back in and, kind of had something to do.
So what do you love about working in the business, and what do you hate about working in the business?
Well, this business in particular,
Yes, ma'am.
having
How many others are there?
well, it's I didn't mind it. It gave me pride and something to do as part of our my relationship with Nick. I wanted to do my part, and also I wanted to be sure everything was going well. I wanted to be sure that things were done correctly and we were protected financially.
Sure.
We had a couple little bouts of improprieties in the office with the lady, people that were in there. And so I said, no, I'm
It's
going
a lot easier to make sure that doesn't happen when you're there.
Yes, it does. Is that what you said? Yes.
That's why Deborah started doing the accounts payable.
Yeah,
Because
exclusively.
we had a person, an office manager who was embezzling from us, and she had been with us for a long time. And after that incident, we decided that Deborah would take care of the accounts payable. And
Sure.
so she came in and checked, and you were coming in what, a couple times a week, 2 or 3 times a week for 3 or 4 hours just doing that. And then as things have gotten the way they've gotten lately, she's been coming in more.
They're crazy.
Mhm.
What do you love and hate about owning a business?
I love the challenge of it. I just really like it. The thing I don't like is, I don't know, the challenges of getting paid is getting to be interesting, more interesting than it had been. But right now, the only thing I don't like about it is just not being able to get enough people, to adequately man the jobs and do the work that we're capable of doing.
Sure. Do you guys access advisors more now than you guys did before? Or do you still not really access your banker, your attorney, your accountant, your financial advisor?
No, now almost any move that we make, we contact. Usually it's an accountant. We'll be talking to our accountant for, what we're doing, and our bankers, they've been great. They fluctuated with us all along.
Did we just get signed out? Nope. Deborah, you froze for a minute. I want to make sure I didn't lose you.
I've been hearing
So
everything.
you're accessing your accountant more now. Are they giving financial advice, legal advice? What is it you're turning to your accountant for?
Oh, financial advice. If we're gonna buy something, we talk to them. We talk to them now for tax, tax things seem to be changing quickly right now. So before we make any moves that involve any amount of money, we usually contact our accountant and talk to them.
Sure. What do you two wish, so I'll ask you first, Deborah, what do you know now about running a business or working with advisors that you wish you could tell your 20-year younger self? If you were to give advice to somebody that was in this business 20 years less than you guys, and they said, what is the one thing that I should really know that I don't know? What would you tell them?
I would say meeting with them almost quarterly. We always strive to do that, but somehow we always got so busy, and it was like towards the end of the year, that's when we would start pulling our numbers together and saying, oh, we could have done this, we should have done this. I think just something on a regular basis, so you have the pulse of the company all along the way.
How about you, Nick?
I agree with that. I think one of if I was starting over again right now, I think training would be our primary focus. I don't think we did that well enough. That's what I think one of our biggest shortcomings were. And like Deborah said, we had periods where it would go on for 1.5 or 2 years where we would have meetings and really, like Deborah was saying, really have a pulse on what's going on with the company. I think what they call them deadwood meetings. We would have a meeting and everybody could just say whatever they wanted, and we would find out, is there a certain person in the field, because the office is the office, we all work together all the time.
Right.
But to get a real good, clear idea of what was going on in the field, we would have these meetings to see whether we should keep people or we should work with them or what we should do. And as we stopped doing that, that's when I think we ended up having more problems by not training. I think the training part of it,
Training is
for our
important.
business anyway, if we had done that better, I think it would have resolved a lot of the little problems that we have.
So get to your key advisors once a quarter and do a regular set of training,
Yes.
including a Deadwood meeting every so often.
Yeah, Deadwood
That's
meetings
cool.
a couple times a year.
Have you guys considered the next move? Are you gonna run this until you're gonna die with your boots on kind of a thing? Are you gonna transfer your kids? Are you gonna sell? Have you guys thought about what that next part is?
Well, we're not positive what we're gonna do right now. We really are not sure. We're gonna, as a matter of fact, Deborah and I have decided we're gonna make a decision by the end of next week of what we wanna do.
Wow.
Because we were temporarily retired. We were living in Prescott, Arizona. We were going back and forth. And something happened with the company where we couldn't do that anymore. The people that were taking over decided they didn't want to do it. So we're in a position where we're not sure. As a matter of fact, I'm meeting with 2 business owners to see if they could absorb our guys right now. So
Wow.
we want to try to we have a number of employees who work for us for more than 25 years.
Of
And so
course.
we're trying to get those guys set up in case we make this decision, because I'm 71 and I don't want to keep doing that.
So you guys will give yourselves to the end of the next week to decide, will there be any advisors or professionals you talk to, or will this be in you guys and then you'll figure it out?
No, we'll for sure be talking to our attorney.
Sure.
For sure that that comes first and foremost anyway. And our CPA, we're gonna talk to him about, if we go that route, we're gonna talk to him about transferring assets and what we're gonna do with the assets.
Without talking about too much of the particular, would you also say that part of this decision is dealing with the regulatory environment you're having to? Because you've had a couple of struggles that are not your fault, but you got hit for.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Is that part of it, Deborah, driving you this
It's
regulatory
major.
environment?
It's the economy, it's the California and the regulations here. I mean, there's so many things out of our control that's influencing, do we want to struggle and keep fighting what they call City Hall? I mean, well, anybody who has a business here in California knows.
Sure.
Yeah, the regulatory agencies have, they're making it more and more difficult. They're treating every business as if you have 500 employees. And it makes it really difficult for a business our size. Just for example, the bid program with Highway Patrol, California opted to keep it like any business that has 1 truck or more has to abide by this. And there's nothing wrong with that per se, but what they're doing is they're treating you as if you have 100 trucks. And the regulatory part of all of that right now is so expensive. I mean, we have 15 trucks, and the new laws that have come into effect, it's hard to keep adding adding this to your bids to try to cover all these things. So that part of it, the regulatory part of it, is one of the main things that's pushing us in that direction right now.
And in this last minute, we had talked in the beginning about advice that sometimes advisors give to a client. You were talking about the advice you got
Yes.
on your company wasn't as profitable. And this person who's a professional
Yes.
has never owned a business like this.
We never owned a business.
And what was his advice?
We were going over our financials, and we were just, what has happened is because we can't get more people, we needed to do more work to cover overhead and to
Yeah.
cover our costs. And so his professional advice was to just raise our prices. And I
As
said,
a business owner, it makes you giggle, but
I said to him, we could do that, but we wouldn't get the work. So it's the cycle, the vicious cycle that we're in right now. It's something, like I said, I've never seen anything like this, where if we had enough people, it'd be perfect. We wouldn't have any problems in that area at all, but we just can't get enough people.
and you could have solved the whole problem by that. It could have been a small part of it. And that goes down to when you're with advisors, where they talk theory versus having done it,
Yes,
different.
it's different.
Well, Deborah, thank you very much for doing this with us today. Deborah and Nick are separated because Deborah's in Arizona and Nick's
Yeah.
over here with the business.
She's in her happy place and I'm here.
I'll be over there in a couple days.
And you guys are together mostly, or do you separate mostly these days?
Oh, we're always together. We're always together. He just needed to get back and see check in on the kids. And
Because I had never heard of the umbilical cord stretching this far for this long before.
No, it hasn't. Our daughter, as a matter of fact, our daughter in Maui, she moved
Yes.
to Prescott, Arizona. Her and her husband moved there, so Deborah's helping her move in right now.
And I've got to tease just a little bit. Of course, a Greek family has a daughter that has an olive ranch
Yes.
in Hawaii. You got to be Greek to do that.
yeah. it's-
All right, Deborah and Nick, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, my dear.
Okay, Jeff.
Everybody, thank you very much for joining us. I hope that this gives you a look into what it's like to interact with business owners and their thoughts and their struggles, like we do in each one of the series. Look forward to seeing you guys at the next chapter meetings in Orange County and in San Diego. Thank you so much. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks, Dave.
Here, everyone.